Hi, my name's Henry. I'm the lead ranger for the National Trust in the central bit of the Surrey Hills. I've worked for the National Trust now for 7 or 8 years, but I've lived and grown up here for the whole of my life. I've never lived anywhere else. We are currently stood in Abinger Roughs. It used to be called Terry's Rough because of the local farmer. We're stood just in front of the witch's broom tree, which has to be one of the most famous and weirdest looking trees in this part of the world. So around 300 to 400 years old is a guess. It's really hard to know with this individual because of how gnarly and twisted it is, which makes it unique. If we're honest, we don't know why it looks like that. Some people think it's genetics, just a weird quirk, but I actually think 300 years ago, when that was a baby, these were fields and people were harvesting whatever they could off them, and tree hay was a huge thing. So my thought is the reason it's so gnarly with so many branches is it spent 200 years having its branches cut off every couple of years, dried and fed to the animals, probably that were living in Lisa's barn, which is only 300 or 400 yards behind you. That is just my theory. And I think the mystery of the history behind the tree and the weirdness of how the tree looks is all part of its appeal. So geologically speaking, the North Downs are chalk, and when you come to the bottom of the North Downs you hit an area of clay, and then you get onto this green sand that runs through. And that will affect all the tree species. So up on the hillside you'll have your ash and yew and various bits. Down here you get more of the oak and silver birch. And the beach here is sort of an anomaly, but the dryness of the site is what historically has made it so valuable. For me, the smell of the woodland and the sounds of the woodland and being able to touch the trees and feel the different barks and all of those things are crucially important. And I would hope that people would come and enjoy the trees up here, would come and enjoy this tree behind us, the witch's broom, touch it and feel it, stand under it in the rain, and hear what that's like. And through that, gain a real understanding and a love for the site, the tree, the countryside around them, develop that ownership and be keen to look after it because of that. I feel that the natural world puts your troubles in perspective. The modern world is pretty fast and pretty stressful and pretty hectic, and to come and spend time out here, allow yourself to unwind. My life is a blip for the tree behind me, and that the things I'm really stressed about that day are perhaps even more of a blip, and I could let some of them go. Over 90% of Europe's ancient and veteran trees are in Britain. It's absolutely key that we look after them. And it sort of seems obvious to me, it's hard to explain that we have to look after that, just by virtue of how long they can live, how long they've been here for, how long they could be here for, and the length of time that gives them to have their impact has to make them worth looking after and has to make them worth spending time on and really caring for.